First of all, yeah, I mean, I do. I think it's coming. I don't think they're a long way. I think it's coming. I mean, the BIS said that by 2025, everyone needs to have an operational CBDC. The central banks, for a very long time, because of low interest rate policy, have suppressed gold. And now the difference is you have the sovereign nations standing on the sidelines with their hands open. Okay, suppress it. We'll stand for delivery. And they are taking delivery and draining the exchanges very methodically. Here again, you'll notice we do things like that. They do it slowly, methodically, plotting. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Stand for delivery.
A total of 130 countries representing 98% of the global economy are now exploring digital versions of their currencies, with almost half in advanced development, pilot, or launch stages, a closely followed study shows. 11 countries, including a number in the Caribbean and Nigeria, have already launched central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, as they are known. At the same time, pilot testing in China now reaches 260 million people and covers 200 scenarios from e-commerce to government stimulus payments. Two other big emerging economies, India and Brazil, also plan to launch digital currencies next year. According to Andy, CBDCs have been on the radar for a while, with the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, suggesting that by 2025, everyone should have an operational CBDC. Schectman emphasizes that central banks have historically suppressed the price of assets like gold due to their low interest rate policies. However, he observes a notable shift in this dynamic. Sovereign nations are now actively amassing physical gold and opting for delivery rather than passively allowing suppression. This gradual yet deliberate shift signifies a substantial transformation in the financial landscape. The 2023 Brics Summit was one of the most historic and transformational summits in the bloc's history. In a major expansion, 6 new members will join the Brics core starting from January 1, 2024. Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, the United Arab Emirates, UAE, Egypt, and Iran. This expansion will significantly increase the bloc's economic and political clout. However, the Brics Summit Declaration has underwhelmed in terms of the ambition on the economic front. This has led some analysts to question whether the bloc is still committed to its original goal of challenging the dominance of Western financial institutions and currencies. Schectman suggests that while it might take time, the movement toward Brics as a significant global player is substantial. Now let's watch the excerpts from Andy Schectman's interview with Stansberry Research. But before we do, if you want more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
First of all, yeah, I mean, I do. I think it's coming. I don't think they're a long way. I think it's coming. I mean, the BIS said that by 2025, everyone needs to have an operational CBDC. And if you look at if you take the entire gross domestic product of the world, the countries that comprise, to your point, 95% of the GDP globally, already have one that in production, or they are beta testing, or they are building the central bank digital currency. I think the number 2 financial or economic advisor to the Biden administration, Lael Brainerd, who spent time at the Treasury and the Fed, who ran point on Fed Now, is a modern monetary theorist. She was involved in dealing, when at the Fed, dealing with MIT in the production of the CBDC. Biden signed an executive order to fast track the CBDC. And, so yes, I do think ultimately that it is coming. And this is what has kind of led me down this pathway that I think I'm a little bit I almost have to stop myself, because I have been saying things that I don't normally say. I mean, there's a term called logarithmic decay that I've really been talking a lot about lately. I'm kind of a fan of the image, and it's, imagine kind of the Niagara Falls. You're a couple miles upstream, and you start to notice the pitch slowly declining, little by little by little by little. It's like the game of Jenga, little by little by little by little, and then all at once. And where are we in this graph? Where are we in the logarithmic decay graph, or how many more blocks need to be pulled out of the game of Jenga before the tower collapses? And so I think it's really important, to realize that this is very substantial, very, very substantial, but yet it's not something that's going to happen all at once until it does. James Rickards, I know you know James very well, and I had the privilege of talking to him at Rick Rule's conference here a few weeks ago in Boca. And I think the mistake that was made, if any, was that we put dates on it, or James put dates on it, which got everyone excited about a new gold-backed currency coming out August 22nd. And I think he'll be proven right, but it's the timing that's always the tough one to nail down. I mean, as far as the currencies go, look, they said to all of the finance ministers, go back to the drawing board, come back and report to us next year on the merits of having a common settlement currency. To me, it's a done deal. It's just a matter of when it happens. But let's just, look a little bit at what happened during this event. You have, the countries that joined on, you have the majority of the oil across the globe, or at least with OPEC, when you talk about Iran, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. You have the controlling the vast majority of the world's oil under the Brics influence. When you talk about Argentina, you have the largest producer of natural gas in South America. And, when you talk about Ethiopia, you have the fastest growing economy in Africa. So this is all a process that is very well thought out. And it's one that I think is more methodical than people in the West are accustomed to seeing, where instant gratification perhaps is not fast enough.
During the interview, Schectman emphasizes that two prominent figures in the U.S. administration, Jared Bernstein and L. Brainard, advocate for substantial changes that could have far-reaching implications for the U.S. economy and its global standing. Jared Bernstein, who serves as the chief economic advisor to the Biden administration, has proposed relinquishing the U.S. dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. This idea has attracted significant attention and generated controversy. Bernstein contends that the U.S. should give up its privilege of having the dollar as the world's reserve currency due to the financial burden associated with it. If the U.S. were to follow this path, it might initiate by using the dollar as a diplomatic tool in international relations. Schectman believes these actions are intentional, possibly instigating a crisis or a tumultuous event. He refers to a scenario in which Saudi Arabia and OPEC cease accepting U.S. dollars for oil transactions. Such a move could precipitate a global shift away from the dollar as the primary currency for international trade. This, combined with other factors such as changes in the banking system and ongoing economic instability, can potentially trigger a significant financial crisis. Let's get back to the interview.
If I wanted to get rid of the world reserve status, the first thing I would do would be to weaponize the dollar, to push Russia out of SWIFT, to confiscate their assets, to not just sanction them, but to confiscate them and use them, tell them that we are using them to rebuild the Ukraine. And then at the exact same time, I would push away what is the linchpin of the dollar hegemony, and that is the petrodollar, Saudi Arabia. And we signed another executive order saying by 2030 we'll be 50% green, and by 2050 nearly 80% green. In essence, we're telling Saudi Arabia, hey, we don't need you anymore. Those two things in particular would be the very first two things I would do to lose the world reserve status. And then if I look at the number two in charge, Lael Brainard, who is a modern monetary theorist, you look at the things that are being done in this country, and you have to wonder to yourself, why are they doing these things? Why are we mothballing all of our energy? Why does, and this is not a political statement, but why are people looking at what made this country great, liberty and justice for all, where people would tie inner tubes together with string and float from Cuba, or walk from Central America, across, God knows what, and how hot it was, and all of the perils to find liberty and justice. And people look at what's happening in this country, and I think they have to question, is justice being passed out equally? Is it being administered equally? Are we the country that we once were? The fraying of the unity of this country, where, after World War II and the Great Depression, we were a unified country. We were able to stand together and build a great country. We're not unified anymore. It's black and white and red and blue and vax and no vax and rich and poor, and we're very, very much just not the same country we once were. Now, what I'm getting at is simply this. I ask you, could this possibly be intended? could they possibly be trying to create an event? And this is what I've talked about for a very long time without really saying it. When we push away Saudi Arabia, we create divisiveness in this country, we weaponize the dollar, we're doing everything we can to create an environment where you see this coalition of countries pushing back against the West, even our allies like France, pushing back, and all of a sudden sides are being drawn. And what happens? What happens if Saudi Arabia and OPEC at that moment say we're no longer taking dollars and the dollar gets dumped? The banking system, remember, Lael Brainerd is a modern monetary theorist who wants to get rid of the banks, wants to cull them. Look at what's happening with the banks. The aiding and abetting of the money leaving the regional banks to the big commercial banks by the Fed, because they're allowing the money market funds to invest in the overnight reverse repo market at 5.3% with daily liquidity. There's no reason to stay in these fractured regional banks. You see this event, or whatever event it is, that creates this chaos where the banks fail and they will be bailed in, not bailed out. Bailed in. That's what the Dodd-Frank law said. They must be bailed in. Everyone will lose everything over $250,000. It goes into the pot to bail in the bank. The dollar gets dumped globally because it's no longer the sole settlement currency for oil at some point. That's that all-at-once moment. You go over the falls or the Jenga tower falls. Hey, thanks. You guys are going green. You signed an executive order. You don't need us anymore. So we've signed up with the Brics, and we're going to sell oil and other currencies, and the dollar gets dumped.
The widespread adoption of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, globally marks a pivotal shift in the financial landscape. While precious metals like gold and silver have long been stalwarts in preserving wealth, emerging digital currencies have been knighted by a few as hard money's savior. What are your thoughts on the evolving financial landscape and its potential impact on our future? Share your observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.